Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The clip that I'm gonna be showing you was put out about 11 days ago by a German news media outlet, DW News. I believe they're out of Germany. Of a reporter that went down to Lahaina to do some investigating and find out what's been going on since the fire happened back in August, and how the people that have been displaced, what they're going through, and it seems like it's not exactly what the media, well, I should say the powers that be in Hawaii, are trying to make it seem. Okay, I've been saying it from the beginning that this was going to be a long road. This was not going to be easy by any stretch of the mind for the people that are suffering from this, you know. But before I do, I'll play this clip. In fact, I'm going to leave a link in my description on the original clip. And also, I want to thank all my new subscribers and all my subscribers both here on YouTube and on Rumble. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and pass the channel around. I'm about 18 subscribers short to reach my 500, and so I can just keep going beyond that. That'd be great. So if you want to help the channel, you could do that, or you can buy a t-shirt from my merch store, which is in the description, trueoutlawpatriot.com, and also you can help donate, keep the channel going. There's a link in my description to my Cash App and PayPal also. So with that being said, I want people to pay attention to a few things that this German reporter, okay, points out about what's going on in Lahaina. But here we go.
This is the west coast of the Hawaiian island of Maui. After the wildfires of August 2023, 5,000 people are still displaced, unable to return to an area that is contaminated and with little hope of finding a new place to live.
Now, before I continue, just quickly, this was put out 11 days ago. How old this footage is, I don't know. Okay, I don't know if they took time to put things together to make the video and then put it out, or if this is still actual footage. But let's continue.
Ekolo Lindsay lost his house in the fires. He was one of the few native Hawaiians still able to live in Front Street in Lahaina.
This has been our family home for many generations. This house was built in '58.
A house that disappeared on August the 8th, along with more than 2,000 other homes in Lahaina and Kula, in the most devastating wildfires in the US in a century. Like so many native Hawaiians, Ekolo is deeply attached to his roots and doesn't want to leave the west coast, but he can't rebuild yet. The water is still contaminated, and molten metal, fiberglass and debris make the air toxic. Data from the Hawaii State Department of Health show elevated levels of carcinogenic toxins like arsenic or lead in the ashes collected in Lahaina. When will the area be safe again? What will be the criteria to deem air and water safe? Will there be any long-term risks for residents? Answers the government is unable to provide, thus aggravating the anxiety of displaced Hawaiians like Ekolo.
I'd rather just camp out here and have this as my everyday again. I'm happy with that. But in the interim, until it's clean, and I think the latest timeline I saw was, say, January, February of 2025, before they completed the cleanup here and deem it safe, then in the interim, we'll have to live somewhere. My first preference is West Maui, as are most people. And then, if we can't, then we need to consider other options. But moving off island is not an option.
Like thousands of other displaced Hawaiians, Ekolo is now sheltered in a condo near Kaanapali, the main touristic area in the west coast after Lahaina. But
now, he said, like a lot of the main people are saying, that moving off the island is not an option. It just seems, with the information that I've been getting from people and what little the news media is putting out, it seems like that's what they want. They want as many people off the island as possible, and we already know what the reasons are. Okay, what the actual number one reason is, we don't know yet. But there's one thing I believe. I believe there's so much information that's come out that the truth is going to come out. Okay, and it's not going to be what the powers that be are saying. It's going to be, in my opinion, it's for something very nefarious. But That's my opinion. Let's continue.
He doesn't know how long he and his family will be allowed to stay. The amount of time granted in hotel rooms or condos is different for every displaced fire survivor. Nobody knows when the Red Cross, who runs the sheltering program, will tell you they have to leave.
So I never want to answer a phone if you're not on my contacts. That could be a telephone call saying, you need to get out. You know, so there is that hesitancy, or coming back to your room with a notice on your door saying you got 48 hours to leave, right? I've seen that happen. And getting these notices is always very painful. It pulls up different kinds of emotions of post-traumatic stress.
Ekolo has been fortunate enough to stay at the same place until now. Other fire survivors have been moved up to 8 times. Everybody dreads the call. Pakalana and her husband have been at the Hunuakai up till now. They have 6 children, hence the unusually big room. They keep supplies in containers just in case they have to move the next day.
You know, that's got to be very uncomfortable to have to live like that. I know that a lot of this, it's been chaotic trying to place everyone, but I truly think, I'm not even going to say that the mayor and the governor have dropped the ball on this. I just don't think that they really want to do what's in the best interest of the people that are suffering. Like I said, I truly think that they're trying to make this journey harder than what it is, even though it's in a small area, but they're trying to put so much pressure on these people that they just want to like give up and say, that's it, I'm selling my claim, you know, for whatever pennies on the dollar, or if not less, and I just want out of it. And it just seems like all this pressure that they keep putting on people, especially the survivors that have kids, you know, that cannot be easy. But let's continue.
Because you just don't know where you're going to go next. So these are perfect because, like, if we end up on the beach, you know, the sand, it'll protect it from the sand and the water.
Pakalana has accepted that she lost everything. A family house of 4 generations in Lahaina, but she assures that the uncertainty of not knowing where she will be living next is much worse.
Almost everyone in Lahaina is trying to deal with that same issue, is where we're going to live, where we're going to raise our kids, where they're going to move us, how am I going to get to work, how am I going to get my kids to school if they move me to the other side of the island.
Her husband was born and raised in Lahaina and works here. She is a stewardess. Like most Lahaina residents, they don't want to leave the West Coast, their home, but many have already been forced to leave Maui.
I know they've been asking for volunteers to move off island, to maybe outer islands. A lot of family and friends have moved to the mainland. I have a real estate friend in Las Vegas who sold 5 homes to Maui families within the last couple weeks. And so we're starting to see a huge exodus of Lahaina people coming out of Lahaina because there's no place to live.
Housing was already...
You see, and that right there in itself, I mean, she says, you know, 5 friends, you know, how many people is that total? You know, could it be, if you round it off, you know, with kids and stuff like that, 25 people? You know, it just seems like that they're leaving it up to people from the outside to take on, you know, this task, when it's like so much money has been gathered and spent, and yet, you know, they just keep, with all the land that's on Maui, all that open land in Lahaina and all the other islands, you would think that they would really buckle down and go straight to the White House and say, listen, we need help. You know, the White House right now, they want to pass another bill where they're going to send Ukraine, Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel more money. And it's like, what about the people in Hawaii? Okay, what about the people in Palestine, Ohio? Ever since that train derailed, you know, I'm like I said, I'm not understanding why this hasn't had any push from Congress, which just, like I said, just makes it even more suspect. But let's continue.
These cares on Maui, permits to build are extremely difficult to obtain, and with an entire town gone now, finding a place to rent on the West Coast is almost next to impossible.
Most of the Airbnbs are going for $15,000 a month. which most of us can't afford.
Yeah, you see that right there. I find that disgusting. You know, the governor has the power to go in and start regulating prices. And if anybody says that's not true, that's a lie. Okay, whenever there's a hurricane in Florida, a few gas stations have been caught trying to gouge their prices, and on anything, stores with water and stuff like that. And the governor will say straight out, you're not raising your prices. This is not about supply and demand. And I truly believe that the governor has the power in Maui, since they're their own little like government, basically, to say, listen, we all got to put an effort together in this, to help each other out. But will I hold my breath on him doing something like that? No. But let's continue.
On top of extremely high rental prices, many displaced families like Pakalana still have a mortgage to pay for a house that does not exist anymore. And with the fires, most displaced lost their jobs too.
And that right there in itself, I'm sorry I got to stop it so much, but you would think that the governor would cancel whatever mortgages need to be paid, put a freeze on everything, and don't even charge them for that matter. I mean, all the money he's going to do is go straight back, back to the county and the state, but they can do without it. They're making crazy money. But all these little things you would think that they would do away with to make it easier on these victims, man. But they don't, and it's sickening. But let's continue.
Before Thanksgiving high touristic season, hundreds of families were kicked out of the hotels. Pakalana was worried that they would be the next out before Christmas, but the plans to move out fire survivors were postponed. Many displaced Hawaiians, though, feel that tourism has been put ahead of their needs.
Now that we've opened tourism and families were in the hotels and now everyone's getting kicked out, where are we supposed to go? And so many families feel like second-class citizens or even feel like they're not important.
Tourism is the main source of income for the Hawaiian island of Maui. Locals know it provides much-needed jobs, but resentment is growing as they see how visitors get to stay in the same hotels fire survivors are being kicked out of, with no long-term solution for them inside. The main demand and complaint to their local government. The immediate plan of the mayor, Richard Bison, is to try to convince owners of short-term rentals to house displaced families instead for more affordable prices. In exchange, they would pay less taxes. A plan that's backed up by the state as well.
We're looking for about 10% of the total amount of units available on the island. And again, we're asking for people to convert them to a year or 18-month long leases rather than short-term. So there are enough. The real question is whether that incentive is enough of an incentive for people.
This is Lahaina Strong.
Yeah, and that's sad because, I mean, look, I'm not into real estate, so I'm not gonna pretend like, oh, if I owned like a hotel, I would, I know what I would do. I do know that if I did have a rental, I would definitely open up my doors and say here, and probably not even take the money for the fact that it doesn't. I mean, you can take the money and put it back into the community, or you can just save that and say, listen, I don't want anything in return. Well, maybe if they gave me a few bucks, for whatever utilities, but just keep the money there in the community. Whatever money you're going to give me, just use it to give that. I mean, real estate is a funny thing. A lot of people that own real estate, not all. I deal with a lot of real estate agents, stuff like that. But there's some people, some landlords. They're all about the money. They don't care. They don't care if it happened to a family member or not, a friend, a neighbor, stranger. They're all about the money. And with these prices in Hawaii being so high, I mean, this right here is all new to me about these prices. These are regular prices, supposedly, like the $15,000 for an Airbnb a month. And it's like, how did they let it get so bad like that? But I guess that's another topic we'll talk about. Let's continue.
A movement that has been fighting for affordable and dignified housing for local residents long before the fires. Fishing for housing is how they call their protest. They've been camping for more than 2 months here at the Kanapali Beach, the center of tourism in the west coast of Maui. They're day in and out in meetings at the county council with one central demand. They want the mayor to put his plan into action.
So the petition that we have is for the mayor to convert the short-term rentals to long-term, to get the tourists out of the houses into the hotels, and the residents out of the hotels into the houses.
But owners are reluctant to convert, arguing that they will lose money. The state has even threatened to force them, but owners insist that that is not the solution. Many think it will take a multi-sided approach to solve this problem. And just like the aid that came right after the fires, it is again the Hawaiian community itself that is coming up with a right-now plan that they claim the government lacks. One of the initiatives that could provide shelters for at least 2 years are the tiny homes. The Village of Hope is emerging near the airport in Kahului, a project that was initially planned for homeless people.
So behind me is a community center with, it's right in the center of 4 to 6 dwellings. The community center is where these multi-generational families can gather and have their family meals.
Okay, now that I'm noticing this, you know, I did a video not too long, well, about 2 months ago, but it was brought up by other people in Lahaina, where all the able-bodied men, you know, and women, to go and help with the cleanup and help with the construction. Now they're doing all this construction here. Now I understand that they're saying that the area is contaminated. People got to be very careful. But you know, one thing comes to mind. When 9/11 happened in New York, so many volunteers went down to clean up, and I believe a lot of them signed waivers that they were there on their own accord, that they could not come back later if they got sick. And a lot of people got sick. Okay, a lot. But you didn't really hear about that many lawsuits because a lot of those people they knew. And me personally, family members went down. In fact, one family member died young. Okay, it was his choice to want to go down there and clean up. Sadly, it took him before he was even, like, I believe 32 years old, because of all the chemicals. But I truly believe that a lot of these people that are in Lahaina, that they will go there, and especially if it's cleaning up on their own property, that they will be willing to sign a waiver that, you know what, if I get sick, I can't go and sue. Okay, me personally, I know I would. Okay, and I can't even see a lot of them getting sick if they wear the right gear. I mean, people have been there cleaning up. Lest we forget, the Army Corps of Engineers went down there and they were all geared up, and which was also suspect because a lot of them were walking around without masks and cleaning up. But I'll digress on that. But let's continue.
This is one of the 88 modular homes that are meant to house 350 people. But with thousands still displaced, the need is huge.
This is really important for families because families are already starting to receive notices to leave the hotels, and currently there are people sleeping in their cars.
This will be a double unit. The organization has more land across the island, but they need funding. The tiny homes are being financed through local community organizations and help from abroad. Right across the street, dome-shaped dwellings. Another project sponsored by the King's Cathedral Church. Alfie Basurto doesn't want to wait for a government that is moving slowly.
Very
he
slowly.
and his wife lost his home on Front Street, but still have a piece of land north from Lahaina on which they're starting to set up tiny homes for other displaced.
You see, and that's what I'm saying. You'll have people like this that will do this. Why isn't the government, why isn't the mayor and the governor, and maybe they are, I don't know, but why aren't they banding with these people instead of waiting for people that already own the Airbnbs that are charging so damn much? Okay, why aren't they going with them and say, listen, how much space you got? Okay, let's build this over here, and let's let's get more people together and clean this place up and get the community going, because that's what they need. There is so much I would have to say anxiety and the depression that you would think by doing these things it's gonna, and it would help a lot of people. It'll help a lot of people to come together and say, let's do this together as a community. Where Maui's strong, Lahaina's strong, this is what we should do. But let's continue.
It doesn't seem like much, but 100 people, you just provided a lot of relief, a lot of peace of mind.
Instead, Mayor Bissen wants fire survivors to move out of the hotels and stay with host families or help them with direct rental assistance or direct lease, provided they can find a place. But building temporary homes will be a last resort if everything else fails.
Which is silly to me. Like, you know, we have a really big problem to solve, and that problem needs to be solved from a bunch of different angles. But we don't know what solution is actually going to be worthwhile to pursue if we don't try any. I mean, right now we're not trying anything.
Alfie and his wife have been able to find a place to rent, but for almost double the price they paid before on the ocean front.
Now, before the fire, we had a 4-bedroom house. We paid $4,500 a month. It was right across the street from the ocean. It was beautiful, it was huge, it was nice. Beautiful, huge yard. And now we have a 4-bedroom in Kaanapali, which is only like 3 miles away. We pay $9,300 a month.
Jeez.
He says the stress of having to figure out $9,000 rent a month does not compare to the stress of being homeless, a stress that has taken a toll on the mental health of many fire survivors. Though official data does not show an increase in the number of suicides compared to previous years on Maui, there have been reported suicides from fire survivors after the disaster.
And I did another video on that also, and that's something that a lot of people are not talking about. The stress that has affected a lot of these survivors, not having the means and stuff to survive, and just, you know, just that uncertainty, not knowing. And that will take a toll on somebody mentally and emotionally. But that's something else that nobody's addressing. And if anybody has any information on that, please leave it in my comments and point me in the right direction. But here we go.
An issue Alfie feels is not getting enough attention.
You know, I'm just reminded about this young man who attempted suicide last week, jumped off a cliff. It was here, yeah, on Maui. His family lost his home. So, you know, was it because of the home? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing, losing your home doesn't help.
Basurto feels that the government has failed their people, failed to help and to prevent so many losses in a catastrophe that was predictable. In 2018, another devastating fire was about to burn Lahaina. The authorities at the time failed to take measures to prevent this from happening again. A report from Maui County from 2021 shows a dramatic increase in wildfires on Maui since 2019. Some of them damage critical infrastructure. The report states the need for immediate preventive measures like fire breaks around power lines. Not much has been done since. The authorities didn't set up escape routes for evacuation, and the protocols in case of fires are still under review. There are investigations in place to determine if the government of Richard Bissen failed to properly manage the crisis.
Yeah, and how much do you want to bet that nobody? I mean, and don't get me wrong. If there was anything done wrong, and by what all the information that's come out, it looked like a lot was done wrong. Okay, and a lot of it looks like it was deliberate, which makes this very suspect. But how, you know, what's going to be the end result? Are people going to go to prison? You know, I mean, what less can anybody ask for? What more can anybody ask for when it comes to, like, if it's found out that they were just negligent because they wanted to be negligent in helping people? What's going to be the outcome to that as far as like punishment and penalty? I'm sure everybody would like to know, but let's continue.
Many Lahaina residents didn't know what was going on until their house was on fire.
You know, at that point when I realized I could start feeling the fire, like I could feel the heat on my body at my home, I was like, it's just too close. Like, we need to get out of here. No, there's no evacuation. There was no sirens. There's no firefighters. There was no police. None of that. There was no one saying, get out. None of that. Which is a shame. I used to be a cop in California for years. We did wildfire evacuations. We went house to house, street to street. Hey man, a fire's coming, you need to go. No, I want to save my house. Sorry, you got to go. You make sure they leave. That's how you save lives. None of this.
But meanwhile, there's video out there that's surfacing, and nobody knows if it was actual or just a couple of small instances where the police chief says that no, his guys were out there trying to evacuate as many people, but you don't see that much video footage of that as far as body cam footage. You know, it's just all so suspect. What you do see, though, is a lot of people trying to escape and cops directing them in the wrong direction, okay? Blocking them from leaving. Intersections blocked off, okay? So people, like I said, this is not over by a long shot. A lot of investigating has to go, but has to continue, I should say. But let's continue.
Let everyone do whatever they want to do kind of thing.
First-hand testimonies claim that police were in some cases blocking the only road there was to escape. When asked about what went wrong in the protocols and how loss of lives could have been prevented, the mayor answers,
Yeah, I wasn't there, so
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know how I can answer your question. But I've talked to just as many people, maybe more than you've spoken to, who were there. And again, that'll all be part of the investigation.
You know, he's very condescending the way this man talks. You know, he didn't need to throw that jab like that. Well, I spoke to probably more people than you have. You know, no, we're not talking about that. Okay. First of all, this man was on video saying that the road to Lahaina was open. This was, I believe, around 4:30. Okay, and that fire was, I mean, nearly in full effect. How he wasn't there and how his people working under him, I just find it hard to believe that nobody was conveying this kind of information to this man, or that he didn't hear it on the radio. I mean, it's just all suspect, man. It really is. But let's continue.
And I know that the police did everything they could
No, they
to
didn't.
save lives.
No, they
Mayor
didn't.
Bisen didn't learn how bad the situation was in Lahaina until late that evening, when the whole town was already in flames. It remains unclear what the protocols were, who was giving the orders. Fire survivors are still grieving their loss, homeless in their own land. Hawaiians like Ekolu, who have lived on Maui for generations, could be uprooted if they're unable to find a new place to live.
All the people, all the families I've been talking to have one wish from their authorities. They want a permanent place to stay. They need peace of mind so they can start rebuilding their lives until they can finally start rebuilding their homes.
Well, Conchi Moya filed that report and joins me now. Welcome, Conchi. So we heard in your report that people have had to move multiple times. What are the other reasons making it difficult to find accommodation for everyone?
Well, on Maui, housing was already very scarce before the fires, and now after Lahaina was burned down, 12,000 people live there, so more than 2,200 structures were gone. So it's even more difficult to find something. And prices have doubled or tripled. People that I've been talking to who paid before maybe $4,500 a month for a house are paying now $9,300 for a house, and or more. Even Airbnbs, $15,000 a month. That's something that people cannot afford, because we have to remember people also lost their jobs with the fires.
Exactly.
So they have no source of income. And they
Yeah, you see, and that's what I'm not understanding. It's like, you know, if they lost their houses, the businesses were lost, they lost their jobs because of all this, you know, everything that happened. Why isn't the mayor and the governor getting together and talking to all these rental property owners and say, listen, man, we need to stick together, man? Or why even waste all that time and all that money trying to get those people that own property to help? Just take that money and just start with a faster rebuilding effort, you know, the cleanup and rebuild, and give that money to, okay, the survivors, or maybe half of it in lieu of them doing work also. I just don't see how they are saying that this is a slow, tedious process. I just don't get it. And especially when you have a military base not too far away, where you can get the Army Corps of Engineers to go in there and coordinate with the citizens. Okay? It's like they came in and did whatever they had to do and left. And they did that quick. So why isn't there a coordinated effort to get with the survivors and say, listen, we're going to do this together? But it's like I said, it's suspect. It's as if, you know, I've been saying it, like a lot of people have been saying it. They just want to get as many people off that property as possible. But let's continue.
They cannot afford to pay such prices.
And we know that at least 100 people died in those fires. And residents have been saying that there would have been fewer victims if authorities had done a better job. Could this have been avoided?
Well, at least it was known that there was Lahaina was a threat of something like this happening. There was already a warning in 2018 when the town almost burned down. Nothing has been done since. And the day of the fires, I remember that there was no alert of any kind to the people in Lahaina. People realized, many people that I've talked to realized that they had the fire when the house was on fire. And then by the time they decided to leave, for many it was too late. Plus, they encountered police blocking the roads. There's only one road to escape. And I've talked to many testimonies who said to me, police was not letting us pass. So people think that could have been avoided. And the people, there was overall like a chaos. Nobody knows who was coordinating the whole operation. The people who took the decisions were not on island. Like the chief of the emergency response was on Oahu and wasn't getting first-hand information about what was going on. The mayor has refused to explain his whereabouts by the day of the fires. So it's still unclear what the protocols were, who was giving the orders, and what were the orders that were given to the police.
Right. So there in Lahaina, people, the situation there is still toxic.
And these are questions. This is why I'm saying I don't understand how more politicians and the White House and Congress, I mean, all of Washington, how come they're not investigating this? You know, this is, I'm not going to say it's a crime scene yet, okay? But for all intents and purposes, I guess you can also call it that, because if they're going to put the blame on the power company that they were negligent, okay, and because of them not taking the protocols to cut around the power lines and keep the landscaping to a minimum, so like that there wasn't going to be a fire because of their negligence, that's what happened. So in essence, it could be a crime scene, okay, where higher ups need to step in and start investigating. But it's like that, I just find it hard to believe that nobody is in here investigating en masse. But let's continue.
People can't return to their homes, but the West Coast has reopened for tourism. That must be very strange. On the one hand, scenes like this, and then on the other, people sat in their hotel around the pool drinking daiquiris.
Yeah, that's very hard and very frustrating for the people. I was there in Kanapali, where a lot of displaced survivors are still sheltered. And it was a really weird picture to be on this beach and having like tourists sitting on the beach next to people who were protesting and camping for more than 2 months on the beach because of the situation of the local community. In the hotels itself, like you see fire survivors coming out of their room and asking for food. They get the food, but they can't sit in the restaurant and eat along with the tourists. So they're in a very...
Yeah, now that right there, if that is true, I find that to be disgusting. You know, it's like, why would you subject them to that? Now, maybe some of them wanted to just be to themselves or stuff like that, but I mean, is it something that it could have been open? Maybe that's just some instances, I don't know. But if it's true that they weren't allowed to like dine with the tourists, which I find hard to believe, but if that's true, I just find that disgusting. But let's continue.
Very fragile mental state, because they live in this permanent fear of when are they going to tell me that I have to leave, you know, with my kids, with my family. And also it's the resentment is also growing, although the people know they need tourism to survive. But they're still grieving, and they have seen how before Thanksgiving, hundreds of people were kicked out of the hotels. So, and they feared as Christmas was approaching that more people would be kicked out of the hotels. That was postponed. But now, to this day, there's still not a permanent solution for housing. And even though the government is trying to make owners of short-term rentals convert, that's not really happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for talking us through that.
It's not going to happen because, like I said, a lot of these homeowners, or these rental property owners that have the Airbnbs, I understand they're in it for the money. I get it, but it's like, as your fellow man, you could bend a little bit and be like, listen, I'm willing to do this, and this, and if not, then fine, that's your prerogative. But I think that the mayor and the governor and the powers that be need to make the choice to say, you know what, that's not going to be a solution. So if somebody wants to volunteer, we'll leave the door open to them, where they can come in and fill out paperwork and this and that. But we need to move away. We need to get away from everything that we're hoping for and go with what we can do. And like I said, I don't think that's what they want. In my opinion, I really don't think that they want to help out the victims as much as they're saying that they do. Okay, they just seem too condescending. More and more things are coming out that seem very suspect. The police chief now, that audio came out, that hidden audio of before he got the job. Everything seems so damn goonish, okay, and so criminally minded with what's going on. But we'll see what's going to happen. So I encourage everybody to stay on this and try to keep finding out as much news as possible. And if you can reach out to anybody out there that knows firsthand, try to get as much information as you can and stay aware of what's going on, because they're not out of this by a long shot. And I've been saying that for the longest. Okay, they're just not. Another thing is, I've also heard from certain people that the whole thing about the kids, there were a lot of kids out there that day running for help. Okay, I'm trying to find out some more information. It just turns my stomach thinking about it. But I just think that we can't give up that aspect, that part of what had happened, and how many children and people are still missing. Okay, so don't think for a hot minute that death count that they're saying is permanent. Okay, I didn't believe it from the beginning. If everything didn't turn out to be so suspect since then, we could probably believe it, but nothing has been on the up and up. Okay, nothing, and especially the way the powers that be are treating people, reporters and citizens alike. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, pass it around. Again, speak to the youth in Hawaii about this. They got to start banding together and helping out the elders. And more elders need to come out, from what I'm told by certain people, that they need to band together more, okay, in order to get better results. I'm not there, so I don't know, but that's what I'm being told. And if you can find a reputable way to help them, do so. Okay, make sure you know where your money's going and where your help is going if you're gonna, donate to a lot of these organizations out there that are helping. And if you want to help this channel, you can donate. There's a link in my description to my Cash App and PayPal, and also my merch store, TrueOutlawPatriot.com. So with that being said, people, remember, stay vigilant, keep praying for each other, and keep praying for the children and the people of Maui. Peace.